Diane, if you would just give a quick intro to UEL and the work you're doing. University Enterprise Labs is one of the greatest assets we have in the region, and one that under Diane's leadership has grown significantly.
Thank you so much, Frank. What a fantastic introduction. My name's Diane Rucker. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. As Frank mentioned, I lead University Enterprise Labs. We know it more commonly as UEL. UEL, despite the name, is not affiliated with the University of Minnesota, but it was originally started through a group of spinouts that came from there. It's an incubator in the Twin Cities. We work with startups in the healthcare, health tech, med tech, biotech, food agriculture, and health security space. So it's a pretty broad group of startups. What really it speaks to is the strength of the clusters that we have in our region and the ability that we have to support those startups. Within UEL, we have about 60 companies that we work with. Some are residents, some are virtual residents, some are just part of our community. We're very fortunate to have them. We have grown substantially over the last couple of years. In 2018, we embarked on an expansion and we added 12 new labs and new dry labs and office space.
Magic box of stamps.
Stacey, I think you're not on mute. There we go. So the University Enterprise Labs, as the name is, we offer lab space to startups. In addition to that, we also offer a really extraordinary community of startups, helped in part by Medical Alley Association. But our goal is to not only provide the space where startups can grow, but also to provide the network, the community, the resources, the connections, and the support. And I'll add one more thing before I turn it back over to Frank. About 2 years ago, UEL partnered with Generator to recreate the G-Beta MedTech program, which is an accelerator that specifically seeks out MedTech startups. We host 2 cohorts a year. We're very excited to be announcing our spring cohort within the next couple of weeks. And this partnership with Generator is at least partly supported by BARDA, which is the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, through which UEL receives a grant. One of the benefits to that as well for our community is BARDA was interested in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region and the greater Minnesota region because of the strength in the clusters that we have in MedTech and health tech. And so they reached out to us, invited us to apply for this. We were fortunate to be considered and to receive the grant. And it's an ongoing grant for the next 3 years and expected to extend another 5 years. What it does for us is it helps us bring attention to the region as to what's happening at the federal level. And it also helps us connect our startups to federal funding. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Frank. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And I'm glad you mentioned Generator and BARDA. It's a great example of the role and the impact that the different so-called ecosystem groups can have in building infrastructure that enables entrepreneurship to be more successful. I always think you as the entrepreneurs, you're doing the real heavy lifting of building a new business, creating something new. The role that I have, that Diane has, that Neela has, that many others on this call that I see have, is to take your insights, to gather from you the big grand challenges that you could solve but don't really make sense to solve individually, and to empower us as organizations to create infrastructure that solves the problem once and that each entrepreneur can then benefit from that asset. UEL is a great example of that, where lab space, if you're a biotech startup, can be very expensive to build and is fundamental to your business. Having greater access to BARDA and to federal resources can bring in capital, procurement opportunities, and new technology. And it's things like this that we're always trying to better understand so that we can go out and gather new resources that enable your work. And to that end, I'm really pleased to be joined today by 2 entrepreneurs, 2 small business leaders, one in digital health, one in med tech, who have been great to work with, in one case for many years, in another case more recently. And what I'm going to ask John and Stephanie to do to start, and maybe Stephanie, you first, then John, you, to first just give us an intro of you and of your business, And then I've got just a couple of questions I want to ask you about kind of your journey. So, Stephanie, if you would.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and be a part of this program today. I'm Stephanie Kent, and I am the president and CEO of Carbon Medical Technologies. I have very recently backfilled the founder of this company. He founded Carbon Medical Technologies in 1994. So the company has been around for a long time. To just give you a little bit of information about Carbon, we're really a research and development and manufacturing company. So we develop implantable medical devices using a proprietary pyrolytic carbon coating technology. And so we have developed a few different products of our own that we distribute. But what I would probably like to highlight with this group is that we are an FDA registered medical device manufacturer, and we run an ISO Class 7 clean room facility. And over the years, we've developed a lot of expertise around sort of the regulatory process, the manufacturing and production. We've gotten over 20 devices cleared by the FDA. We've got CE mark in Europe and sales all over the world. So we've got a lot of really great expertise on this team, but we're a little under the radar. And so I've been working with Frank to, now that I've moved into this role, sort of revitalize our company in an effort to grow as well. So I'm transparently on a very similar journey as I think a lot of startups, in the sense of how do you then, after you've got all of this great experience and talent and knowledge, really put that to use in innovating and growing and having a lasting presence in Minnesota.
Wonderful, thank you. And John, if you would.
I wish you'd let me go before Stephanie. That's pretty cool stuff that they're doing. John Brownlee, I'm the CEO and co-founder of VidScript. We're a Minneapolis-based digital health. I don't know. I always say I'm not sure we can call ourselves a startup anymore because we're 9 years old now. But startup's cooler, so we'll stick with the startup tag. But our business, if you've ever been to a doctor or had a family member go to the doctor and hear a whole bunch of information about what's about to take place, about their surgery, about whatever it might be, and then got home and realized you forgot just about everything that they said, then you're not alone. Patients forget about 80% of what their doctor tells them. And so what we've done over the last 9 years is develop a platform that allows mostly surgeons create what we call video prescriptions for their patients. So they sit in front of their computer and they answer 120 questions about total knee replacement surgery, everything from what do I do if I have knee pain, all the way through 90 days post-surgery. And we take 100 or so little 20-second videos and stitch them together into video prescriptions we call VidScripts, that we then deliver to patients by a text message at just the right point in a care episode. So a week before surgery, the night before surgery, the day after, 90 days after surgery, et cetera. And what our platform has shown is that patients who receive VidScripts report higher patient satisfaction, significantly reduced procedure cancellations, and fewer callbacks and interruptions for staff in medical offices. So it's an efficiency, patient satisfaction, and outcomes tool. Our business is built on partnerships with medical device companies. So Boston Scientific, for instance, is by far our biggest client. We work across 3 different divisions in Boston Scientific and about to add another one. So they sponsor programs on our platform that relate to procedures that they're interested in. And then we have surgeons all over the world who use the platform to engage their patients. So Minnesota-based companies like Perceptus Medical, which is a startup, Inspire Sleep Therapy, Boston Scientific, et cetera. These are our clients, as well as we also work directly with some major health systems as well.
Thank you. And what I love about having both you and Stephanie on is it's a great example of the breadth and depth of what it means to be a healthcare innovator, healthcare venture in this region, that it's complex medical devices that are implanted in the body, complex IT platforms that simplify healthcare. There really is just a full breadth that impacts every aspect of healthcare. The first question I want to ask, John, is for you, which is, you started from scratch. You built this from the beginning with your business partner. I'm just curious, what's something if, going back 9 years, if you had known then what you know now, that you maybe would have approached differently or thought
Hi.
differently?
Good. How are you?
Oh, and Anna, I
Huh?
think you are not on mute. Thank you.
Maybe Anna was just talking to me. She's just excited.
I will say, I always say have grace and empathy on Zoom calls because we have real life all around us.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's a great question. Our business, when we originally started our business, we thought it was YouTube for healthcare, where you could go in and you could search for knee replacement surgery and a knee replacement, and you could identify a local surgeon and then watch all their content. And what we realized was that what the practices, what the providers really needed was more of a direct pipe to their own patients, not really another marketing tool. And we didn't want to be a marketing tool. So there was a big pivot that took place about 3 years into our business, where we changed from kind of the search engine approach to more of a direct prescribing of content approach, which really was where the business kind of took off. In our case, as anybody who's ever heard me talk about this, we're not a venture backed. We've never raised any venture capital or anything. So we had a really long runway to really figure out how to do what we do. And what we do sounds really simple, and it basically is, but doing it at scale is pretty complex. So that was a big pivot. For us, our business has really followed the progression of what you can do. If you think 10 years ago, the high definition video camera you carried in your pocket, which was my inspiration for starting the business, it was the iPhone 3 at that point. I think I might have just clicked out. Everybody just either you all just froze or I did. But if you think about I had the iPhone 3 when I started the business, and if you think about how far we've come in terms of what the mobile devices can do, but more importantly, in our case, what you can do inside a browser. So we've kind of followed the technology in terms of just what you're capable of doing and what kind of technology we're able to build. For me, because I didn't go out and raise a few $1,000,000 to launch the business, it was imperative that I get paying customers right out of the gate. And this is really where I'm a huge Frank knows this, and I'm not saying just because Frank invited me on this call, but I'm a huge advocate for Medical Alley. And I've been really involved in what Medical Alley is doing in the digital health space as well, with a kind of a large group of founders mostly in the digital health space. And my relationship with Medical Alley has enabled me to sort of leapfrog a lot of the things that I would have done if I had gone out and raised money. I think I froze again. Gosh, I froze again. So what Medical Alley is
like it's okay on our end, though. You're still moving and sound is good.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna keep going then. So what Medical Alley has allowed me to do is really leapfrog some of the things that I would have needed to raise money for in terms of meeting medical device companies, partnering with health systems, making connections that I need to make, et cetera. And I'm really excited about what Medical Alley is doing with the next phase of this sort of more formalizing the effort to help, in particular in my case, digital health startups grow without necessarily needing to sell their companies before they know what their companies are. So removing some of those, lowering those barriers reduces the need to create large financial runways, and instead plug in more quickly and to do pilots and to create relationships and so forth. That was pivotal for our business, probably more than Frank even knows how important that's been, to be under that umbrella. And I think the work that they're doing is incredibly pivotal, and I'm really excited to see what's coming up in that respect.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And what I heard, kind of two big pieces, like the willingness to pivot, in particular in healthcare where it can be complex and the runways are long. And then it's not always about being a venture-backed company. There are multiple ways to build a business, to be an entrepreneur. So, Stephanie, what I wanted to ask you, you're coming at this from kind of a different angle where you've moved from one industry in one sector into healthcare, and in a business that it's existed for a while, but sort of is restarting. So, I'm curious, as you've switched industries, how have you found support? How have you, got up to speed, if you will, quickly and been able to come into this leadership role?
Yeah, great. And what I didn't share is a little bit about my background. So prior to coming to Carbon, I worked at Target Corporation in a number of different roles for over 15 years. So to Frank's point, I had a little bit of sort of health policy background and some health law experience, but I had no med tech industry experience moving from retail over to healthcare. So the learning curve has been significant, and it remains significant. But I will say one of the first things I did is frankly call Frank. I've worked with trade associations and government associations and programs in the past, and there's just a ton of value in these groups. And at Medical Alley, I sort of did a deep dive into different webinars and podcasts. But I also sat down, and I was moving from a company with 375,000 employees to a company with 25 employees, and so small team, wear many hats. I knew I wanted to grow. I knew our core business areas, but I also knew our core strengths, and so I wanted to meet people with sales and marketing background, with corporate development background, with banking backgrounds. I sort of asked a lot of questions and challenged myself to have a lot of meetings with people in the healthcare and med tech space. And it really is a supportive community. It takes effort and it takes time, but you can learn a lot through that effort. And it was through just connections and connecting to different people and sort of sharing my story and the company story that I discovered a lot of really interesting programs. One call I learned about the U.S. Consulate's office and how helpful they can be with companies looking to expand abroad. Just in the last week, that person set up meetings with me and local representatives in Singapore and Japan, which incredibly helpful conversations. I've learned about programs through the Minnesota Trade Office, grant programs that also support expansion efforts. None of this would I probably have found easily on my own. So I would say that's the greatest opportunity that I see out there, is just how do we get information to people in startup roles, in small company roles, around the programs and resources that exist. And if not through, Frank's connections and then those connections, it just would take a lot of time and effort. And I do think there are a lot of great resources available. It's just tapping into those resources and identifying them that can be the hurdle. And that's sort of the learning curve I still feel like I'm on, in an effort to find ways for our company to sort of refresh and revitalize and grow on a limited budget with a very small team. So I know I need to ask for help. I need to get help. And thankfully the community has been just wonderfully supportive. And that's made it so much easier.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And I'll say, shout out to the Minnesota Trade Office, the Consulate, the U.S. Commercial Service. If any of you are considering international business, they have truly fantastic resources. The Commercial Service can help identify distributors, vet companies, arrange meetings, even accompany, when you get back to the point of actually traveling, accompany you on meetings. They have been fantastic partners. We work with them very closely along with the trade office. Highly, highly encourage. I have one last question, which Stephanie, you anticipated, so that was perfect. So I'll ask it of John, which is, what is the gap or the gaps that you see still need to be filled, that maybe we as the public sector, the private sector, the nonprofit sector should be thinking about and building as like kind of a next phase? Stephanie and identified that information gap and making sure people know what already exists. Is there anything you might add to that, John?
I think that from a startup's point of view, the biggest challenge is rapidly creating opportunities. And when I look at the healthcare ecosystem in Minnesota, we have United Healthcare. We have some very sophisticated payers. We have very sophisticated health systems. The Mayo Clinic. On top of that, research institutions like the University of Minnesota. And then we have a lot of big medical device and a huge, obviously, med device and med tech ecosystem. And if you take a healthcare entrepreneur, that covers a lot of the gamut for what most of us are trying to do. And so I think the great opportunity, I don't know if I would see it as a barrier, but I think the opportunity that we have is to, in a more formal way, bring together those stakeholders. And a lot of people think, and it's partly about infusing entrepreneurs into that ecosystem. But actually, I think what's even more important is learning in a more formal way from that ecosystem what their needs are, where they're investing, where they see the puck going, right, proverbially. And so that entrepreneurs aren't just looking to find ways to shoehorn their thing into that ecosystem, but actually create businesses from the ground up that match what the needs are and where things are going. We have an entrepreneur, a really experienced entrepreneur in our founders group who has sold a couple companies and so forth, and when
Okay, John, now we did lose you.
Well, knowing that we're going to run out of time for this, that might be a good place to stop it. I can send John a note. Oh, I think he's coming back.
Oh, that time I really did get cut off.
Yeah, we lost you for a second there, John. I think we caught near the end of it, though.
You should have heard what I said. It was incredible. It was
And thank you, John. Yeah.
So just the point I'm making is that the extent to which we can, in a formal way, learn from this ecosystem and then build businesses from the ground up based on what their needs are, as opposed to coming up with great ideas and trying to shoehorn those into those companies. If we could create an ecosystem like that, where there's a formal way for that information to get out to the startup community, we would have better startups, more rapid traction, less of those startups being owned by investors as opposed to founders and employees. And so that, to me, is the biggest opportunity that we have, especially in this Minnesota ecosystem.
Thank you. That makes a ton of sense. And I'll say thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, John. I know we're going to have to move on to the next one, but I appreciate you both taking the time to share with us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you so much. John, you're spot on. And we hear you, and we know that's a need. We've already had conversations with Frank, with Medical Alley and Grow North and Embold and others that you'll be hearing about. Launch Minnesota is going to be very purposeful this year in making those connecting points, those on-ramps with our partners to some of those private sector and enterprise organizations in Minnesota. So we hear you, and we know it's a need. But thank you for sharing your perspective. Thank you, Frank and Diane and Stephanie and John. Now we have the privilege of learning more about our food and ag tech industry in Minnesota. Look at all this rich expertise we have here in our state. So many of you have already worked with these organizations, Grow North, AURI, and Green Seam. I've been fortunate to work with them and help entrepreneurs for years through these three organizations. So Allison with Grow North is going to take the lead of this panel. We're going to have this session until about 9:20, and then we'll take the remaining time for Q&A and hearing your updates from your regions. Allison, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neela, and thank you for having me today. Excited to talk about a couple of awesome organizations we have in our food and ag vertical here. For those who I have not met before, I'm Allison Hahn. I'm the Executive Director of Grow North. Grow North is housed at the Carlson School at the University of Minnesota in the Holmes Center of Entrepreneurship. So it's a 3-level deep inception of where we're housed. We're with the Minnesota Cup. as well. So we have a strong entrepreneurship base. And if we swing to the next slide, it's a tough act to follow Medical Alley. They've been established and are doing fabulous work, but similar to them, our goals are aligned in that we know that we have this huge ecosystem here of legacy companies. We have a land-grant university like the U of M, tons of entrepreneurs, companies spin out. And so really it's how do we create that interconnected, sophisticated ecosystem where there are those on-ramps, information, access to people, access to capital, all of those opportunities are available. And basically Grow North is here to kind of be the collection point of all of those people. And so we want to educate our entrepreneurs, promote what they're doing, connect people within the ecosystem and provide that access. And so if you head to the next slide, Shannon, we do this mainly in 8 different pillars, I would say. So Food Ag Ideas Week is our kind of marquee event that we have annually. It's a week-long conference where we really convene the entire ecosystem. This past year, it was in December. It was all virtual, but we had track days for food systems. I'll get into a little bit more of that on the next slide, but we have also our monthly entrepreneur education series where we do different themes each month and we tie in some other events that go along with that. We also do a thought leadership series where we bring in industry experts or subject matter experts to share their insights on what's going on in our ecosystem. We also do a quarterly invite for investors. So we convene a bunch of investors, both angel all the way up to some of the large ones like Syngenta, across CPG and across ag and ag tech. And really it's a chance for them to network and share what's going on in the industry and make those connections. I would say funding and scaling efficiently are the 2 big issues. So if anyone here has brilliant ideas on how to help make that a smoother process for entrepreneurs, I'd love to chat with you. And then we also have Minnesota Mingle events, which normally happen, when we get to be real people in person at Expo West and things like that. And then new this year, we actually have membership. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in another slide. But if we move forward, I'll just touch on FAI a little bit. As you can see, it was very action-packed. We opened with a keynote address featuring our own Steve Grove from DEED and the Canadian Consulate this year. We had our investor summit, an ag roundtable, which was new, and then tons of education. And then we had a lot of panels. And luckily, we also had a partner event with Shannon's organization, AURI, as well, which is always a fun thing to do. And also new this year, we had our MBOLD partner interview series. So Grow North and AURI both sit on MBOLD, and we are lucky enough to have 3 different companies share a little bit about the exciting innovation work they're doing within their organizations. So really trying to convene all of the pieces of our ecosystem. And then we had a couple of fun networking events. We had a trade show, which was new this year, connecting about 30 entrepreneurs to about 30 buyers, including about 15 from Target and then Whole Foods, other co-ops from across the region, which really we're looking about providing those access points. A lot of entrepreneurs never get those chances to meet with buyers. And so we wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to pitch and make those connections. And we had some fun product boxes since everything was virtual. So a lot of good activities that happened that week. We're looking forward to this year as well. And then moving forward, Shannon, thank you. Membership this year. So one thing we noticed is, we have all these legacy companies. There's so much industry expertise of individuals that are sitting there, and there wasn't really a good front door for people to connect with these entrepreneurs. And so what we wanted to do is allow for that opportunity to say, hey, you've been in packaging for 15 years. There's probably an entrepreneur with a product who, that's not their core competency. They need to learn how to navigate that landscape, and a half-hour conversation with someone who's lived and died that road makes those decisions a lot easier than endless Googling and questioning what they're doing. So we really want to use membership as an opportunity to connect entrepreneurs with the rest of the ecosystem. And we also have all of the other support organizations, including advertising agencies, marketing, you name it. We have people, we have lawyers. So it's really a diverse group of people who attend. And we have a monthly networking session. We have an official mentor-mentee network where we connect people based on their interests and where they want to mentor from, either it's an up-and-coming startup versus more established in a growth phase. And then you also get access to education events. Our Founders Forum is a new event as well, and that actually has been one of our favorites. After our education event, we have up to 8, but normally it's about 6 entrepreneurs meet with an industry expert for an hour and a half. And it's basically a pro bono consulting session where they get to come ask those questions, those key things that they want to know, and get them answered right then and there. And there's really good sharing that happens amongst the founders as well about how they do that. So, and then we just launched our member portal as well. So it's a way for them all to connect within that smaller network within the Grow North community. And then new this year as well, Shannon and I are lucky enough to be leading the Bold Growth program, which just launched. So that's on the next slide. And this basically, MBold is running this officially. He and I are running it for them. And basically we have so much expertise, resources, everything for really early stage entrepreneurs. And then once you get big enough, they're, it's kind of like the baby bird gets pushed out the nest and it's good luck. And they really wanted to find a way to figure out how could all these major companies support these growing companies. And so what we did is we took 5 companies. It's a mix of ag and CPG. And we have a high touch, low touch model. So Good, So You, and Centerra are in the high touch model, which what they're getting is an advisory team of 2 to 3 MBold leaders, partnership on 2 to 4 projects or topics. And then this engagement with them will last anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on what those topics are and how long it takes to get them rolling. And then Busy, Katana, and Peace Coffee will be doing targeted help on 1 project for them. And basically, this is a way to say, hey, we have all this expertise. You guys need access to data, or you need access to how do we do contract negotiations better, whatever it may be to get them to that next phase of growth. Busy, we have a simple example. They're looking to do private label, but to do that, you have to be SQF certified as a manufacturer. And so being able to help them get to that faster and have people within companies like Land O'Lakes or Ecolab or Target who deal with private label is a way to really accelerate them into that space. And so if that opens up, 20 million in revenue in under a year because they're able to get that, that's a significant growth opportunity. So the Bold Growth program really is about how do we accelerate growth for these companies so we can get more of the exits and stories that we are wanting to have come out of this ecosystem. Purus is definitely on their way. It's super fun to see the growth that company has sustained. Otherwise, we pretty much have Angie's, Boom Chicka Pop, and Talenti. So it's really how can we accelerate growth of these companies and create that pipeline all the way down from early stage into these more growth phase companies. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner in crime, Shannon, to talk about AURI and all the awesome things they do. Take it away, Shannon.
Perfect. Sounds great. Great overview, Allison, of everything going on at Grow North. And it's great to have Grow North in the ecosystem and leading all these efforts and pulling elements together. So AURI is a 30-year-old organization. We're a nonprofit. And we operate mainly on the post-harvest side of the ledger to look at how can we create new demand opportunities and utilization of the crops that are grown in Minnesota and across the region. We have a great partnership with the state of Minnesota that we've been able to extend for over 30 years that allows us to provide a lot of services to Minnesota entrepreneurs, producers, businesses with subsidized rates to help them get over some of those initial hurdles and humps that they have to get through from a technical side to take their ideas into the marketplace. Our bread and butter program is commercialization services, where we have technical experts and business development experts that will scope out projects with entrepreneurs, really think about what do they need to get to that next step, and then work hand in hand to move them forward. We do public initiatives to help de-risk and demystify different opportunities that we're seeing in the industry. And our AURI Connects program is really about convening and pulling together the networks that we can find like-minded or synergies and help create those relationships and opportunities to either spread the word, to educate, or to connect those resources again. And then a newer program that we have is our Entrepreneur in Residence program. AURI operates different laboratories across the state, and we have those assets already in place. So we're looking at how can we bring entrepreneurs into those, let them use our facilities, use our equipment, since the cost of laboratories, again, as was mentioned earlier, is such a high expense and a hurdle that we can make that available at a very low rate for food and ag entrepreneurs. And just a little bit of our resources that we have. Our main food and meat lab is in Marshall, Minnesota, and we have food scientists on staff that can help with some of those issues that you have in terms of nutrition facts panels, shelf life, those different things that you need to get on the shelf for a food entrepreneur. We can do product scale up and changing of recipes to higher volume opportunities. We do product formulation, and we do have a small meat lab, which is kind of unique. And I know we've heard a lot about meat processing over this past year, where you can do product development and different cuts. We have a small smoker to do different flavorings as well. that you can really do this on a research size, get some feedback, and then move your idea forward and hopefully eliminate some of those early problems that might exist. And last year, we actually put in a new product evaluation and sensory lab into Marshall, Minnesota as well. So state of the art in terms of getting some initial feedback on product formulations that can be done there as well. And we also have a great business development side of our food team that can work on food safety, ingredient sourcing, introduction to producers that might be producing the raw materials that are needed. We do a lot on food safety and HACCP planning as well for different businesses, and really just trying to, again, whatever we can do to help move those ideas forward. Our co-products lab is a space down in Waseca, Minnesota. It's more of a dirty lab, I guess you could say, where we do a lot of dewatering and densification of different materials. So think about egg byproducts or from processing streams that have high water volumes. What can you do to upcycle those into new uses? So a lot of feed work, fertilizer work. We did just put in a new food lab there as well for oil pressing and for milling to do, again, small scale research and ingredient development for entrepreneurs that are looking at these unique raw materials and trying to find new product opportunities for them. So a great new facility down there that we've been growing. Two of our new recent additions that you can see pictures here of our hemp decorticator. I think we've all heard a lot about industrial hemp in the last several years. This is actually a fiber decortication opportunity. So think about renewable fibers, ways that when you have new packaging materials and things like that, they can do on a research size scale. And then a new fluidized bed dryer to look at, again, dewatering. Gives us some great data points to compare against other systems and how economical it may be if you're looking at adding a drying capacity. And then we do have business development services there in addition to our scientific and engineering team. And then back to our Marshall facility, we do have a bio-based and renewable aspect as well, where we can do analytical chemistry work, liquid chromatography work, HPLC. We can do extraction work and esterification for biofuels and things like that at our Marshall facility as well. So if you're looking again at ways to renewable fuels or renewable products, we have a team of scientists there that can work with you as well to move those ideas forward. In the last few years, one of the areas that we've worked more in is providing free educational resources as well for entrepreneurs. And we've put forth in the food area mainly a packaging guide, a clean label guide, shelf life guides, just some of those basic materials to some of those early questions that we would routinely get in terms of creating some resource materials. And then we have launched 2 ongoing webinar series. One is our Webinar Wednesday series, which is the second Wednesday of each month. Our next one is April 14th, which will be on green ammonia, which is a really interesting topic where we'll be featuring research done at the University of Minnesota. And then we have a Fields of Innovation platform looking at new opportunities for crops and livestock in the state. Our next one for that is today, featuring the Plant-Based Foods Association, looking at new ingredients for plant-based products. And then just quickly, Allison mentioned our relationship with Embold and the great things that Embold is doing. ARI also works with Embold on our open innovation challenges. So a great opportunity for entrepreneurs to get involved and engaged with providing proposals and kind of opening the door for innovation challenges that our legacy companies are facing here, where they highlight issues that they have, and then they look for entrepreneurs and researchers to submit proposals and look for potential collaborations and partnerships. So a great opportunity to get involved and get connected to get better connected into our Minnesota ecosystem. And with that, I'll turn it over to Garrett for GreenSeam's update.
Excellent, thank you, Shannon. So I'm Garrett Leifring. I'm program manager here at GreenSeam. It's a different phase for you. Typically it's Sam Ziegler, our director, and he is taking a much needed vacation here as State of Ag, or as the National Ag Week is wrapped up. And so GreenSeam is a really economic development organization located in Mankato, Minnesota. And we really work with 28 counties across South Central Minnesota, Northern Iowa, and then even up into Northern Minnesota. And we're really here to leverage the region's resource to drive that economic growth. Next slide, please, Shannon. And so, as we've discussed here today, I mean, we have a world-class, food and ag, business epicenter here, and it's something that we really need to showcase. And we've done a great job of doing so with Medical Alley and in the Mayo Clinic, and even before medicine, we had ag here in Minnesota. And so, we really need to showcase, this powerhouse, as we have greater than 4 times the national average of food manufacturing here in the area. It's more than just production, and we really focus on 4 different key areas. One of those being business retention and expansion. How can we help businesses remain in the area, as well as how can we help them expand and really prosper? And so we address some different talent issues with that and supply chain, and I'll jump into that here in a second. But as well as business attraction and creation. How can we attract businesses to really this value chain located across southern Minnesota and greater Minnesota, as well as helping and supporting entrepreneurs and small businesses get connected to the right resources, people, organizations, much like AURI, Launch Minnesota, and Grow North. And so we're here as really that big connector. A big focus, it doesn't matter what industry we're in, it's talent development. We work with universities connecting and ensuring that the education of today is aligning with the industry needs of tomorrow. Food and ag has been known to be a dirty business, but it's more than crops in the field and swine production in a barn. Every ag company has marketing, sales, and accounting department. They have technology, and we really want to showcase those opportunities to the youth that aren't interested in necessarily the perhaps what can be considered the hard manual labor. And we're also really here to brand and promote, the success of this industry. During COVID, there's a lot of different supply chain concerns, and food and ag really pulled through. We all know when we're out of toilet paper. We all know when we go to the meat market and we can't get any, fresh hamburger or that steak, we've been just drooling for. And so food and ag is really resilient, and we're here for that. We just launched our 2021 State of Ag report, which was really a focus group. We held 8 focus groups across the state, collected more than 200 survey responses, and that was really intended, and this is our second year doing so, but that is intended to really understand what are the challenges and opportunities that businesses across the spectrum are facing when it comes to the food and ag. And for the first time since doing this report, healthcare was not in the top 3. We now have greater concerns than healthcare for businesses, and that's talent, that's transportation, that's policy and taxes. And so those are also some of the things that we work to address here at Greenseam. Next slide, please. So some of the different resources that Greenseam provides, both for business industry as well as the workforce talent and other partnerships, is we have a business directory located on our website. And we just launched a new website, which is more user-friendly. And we have greater than 1,000 businesses within that business directory where you can search by industry. Are you interested in food processing, manufacturing, distribution, and fuels? And you can find those resources, get connected, contact Greenseam, and make it happen. We also work with businesses in the regulatory and supply chain challenges, as well as their products and marketplace positioning. How can we find and identify partners of Greenseam that can be a viable partner, whether it's to license a technology or to work with distribution? Those are different things that we support, as well as site selection. These are all different barriers that growing businesses face. And rather than a business owner contacting 10 or 15 different communities trying to find that right spot, Greenseam it really should be and will be that spot where entrepreneurs and small businesses and established businesses go when they're looking for that support here in the food and ag space. Because with one call, you can then have access to all of the communities and the resources in the area. A big initiative here too is working with research collaborations, right? With university, connecting the industry and the challenges in the industries to different research opportunities within academia and the different universities here in the region. We support entrepreneurs with different grant sourcing, whether that's throughout the state of Minnesota or federally. There's different value-added grants and AGRI, and there's different opportunities there. And it can be a bit overwhelming for entrepreneurs getting started, as well as, again, that talent attraction and retention. A big thing that Greenseam is proud of is the development of ag programming within our school systems, both in high school and in college. In fact, the Mankato School District went from a little under 40 students to more than 400 now. And that's only growing. We have Minnesota State University, Mankato, that is looking at adding additional minors and majors and more. And so this type of development is happening, and we're here to work on the branding and support of that. As well as different experiential learning opportunities. We're launching a talent video that showcases that there's more to ag than one might think. As my colleague Sam says, that there's more to ag than cows, sows, and plows. And so we want to, again, shine that spotlight on the region and on this industry as something positive moving forward. Next slide, please. as you can see here from Greenseam investors, and there's even a few to add, we have everything from communities to the state of Minnesota. We have financial, we have professional services and engineering, accounting. We have production, we have technology. These are all companies within the region, and they, with the understanding that if this region prospers, they will prosper as well. And so, if we attract businesses and families to the region, that's great for mortgages, that's great for lending, that's great for car dealerships. It's great for our small businesses downtown. These businesses understand that and have supported Greenseam tremendously. I will end it there and include some contact information, and would love to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. I'll just bring it home here quick on the last two slides. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some of the great programs that our food and ag entrepreneurs utilize from the Department of Agriculture and Indeed, in terms of ones that are available and have been most commonly used. Value-added equipment costs that Garrett mentioned, the new markets program at MDA that many entrepreneurs use for trade shows, e-commerce training platforms, things like that. And there's many other business development grants and loans. I know at AURI we've had entrepreneurs successfully use Launch Minnesota grants that Neela I know can speak much more in depth to, in the Innovation Voucher Award program as well at Deed. And then I'll just say it's been amazing. I've been with AURI for just a little over 5 years, and the growth in the food and ag ecosystem and the on-ramps and intersections that are occurring are just amazing to see the ecosystem blossom here and create new opportunities for our food and ag entrepreneurs. It's been truly fabulous. And with that, Neela, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much for such an informative session. And our ecosystem is blooming because of all of you on the line and all of you that have shared your story today. The purpose of today was to, as I've been getting some private chats, the purpose of today is to help with these on-ramps. So startups that you are listening, if you have questions in the food and ag, how to get the label, any sort of questions on that, you have 3 experts here on the call. They'll all talk one call and you can be connected into the food ag industry. Same with Medical Alley, right? Frank is there, Medical Alley is there to serve you and be that on-ramp. But then also for our entrepreneurial support organizations that are on the call, many I see from our Launch Minnesota network, utilize these organizations to help your local entrepreneurs. Our whole goal is to break down some of these silos, customize our local expertise, but then pull on statewide best practices to really help these businesses start and scale and grow here in Minnesota. So thank you so much for all of the insight that you've shared today and your time pulling that information together. I think it's just good for people to meet the faces and the organizations that are doing such incredible work across the state. This is your time to share with others some of the things that we should know about before we meet again next month on the 4th Friday. Is there any updates anyone would like to share? I've seen some of the updates in chat. Some of them that I've added, I was asked to share about the Impact SKU Accelerator. That she said it was very relevant to the food ag space, so wanted to make sure that everyone knew about that. I see others from the University of Minnesota, but MinCup is open. We want applications from everywhere across the state. Incredible opportunity. The Walleye Tank, I know Mary also put a link into that. Incredible opportunity for our life science companies. The other part I will add in there is our Angel Tax Credit. We had 10 million available this year, 5 million in general credits, 5 million for those in targeted populations. So Greater Minnesota, women founders, minorities. The general fund is already down to almost 1 million, and our targeted fund is still at over 4 million. I think it's 4.4 million. I'd love to see that all utilized before October when it has to go back to the general fund. So women founders, talk to the investors, 25% credit right back. So Stephanie, that might be a good tool for you. Any other things that people should know about on the call? This is not usually a shy group. I do encourage those that are joining too, in addition to our industry experts, our Launch Minnesota has representation in each region. So, you know, be very purposeful. I know AURI and Shannon has staff across the state that connect. Frank does also with Medical Alley, but we want to make sure that everyone, no matter where they live, have access and connectivity to these resources. So, any questions to any of our speakers? Okay. Well, with that, I think everyone would enjoy a couple minutes back in their day. Fill up your coffee mugs and get caffeinated for the rest of the day. I really want to just thank the panelists and all of you for being part of today. You know, we hope you found this time valuable and maybe met a new person or learned about a new resource or connection point. And most importantly, for Startups on the Line, that you don't feel alone in this journey and that you know these organizations in our state and our regions are here to support you. Our next Friday forum will be in April on the 4th Friday. Please continue to reach out to me. Follow us on social media, Launch Minnesota on social media. We want to be that front door, that central touch point to connect you to the resources that you need. We don't provide those services directly, but I definitely know who I can refer you to very quickly, who has that expertise and talent that you need to be successful. So thank you for your time, and be well and be safe.
Thank you, Neela.
Thanks, everyone.
You know.